HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR, the real deal, HR by HR for HR.
So welcome to the Takeover. Here we are in Los Angeles and not on a rooftop in Stockholm. I'm here with
Travis Robinson
and
Elizabeth Nieto.
So this I've been looking forward for so long. Obviously, Anne-Marie's not here, so we can do whatever we want to do with the VOD.
We miss you, Anne-Marie.
Suck up. But anyway, here we are. So it's so good to see you. And we don't have a wind, and we are actually in a professional studio in the Pod City, Spotify.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Let's talk and jump right in. Let's talk a bit about what you oversee. So equity and impact.
Yes.
What is that?
So equity and impacts, there's the alignment of three teams, the diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Travis will talk about that. Social impact and sustainability. And one of the things that we do is we leave the Spotify values internally and externally. That's how we define what we do.
And if you would deep dive a bit more and leave diversity, inclusion, and belonging at the side, what is the reason why you put all these things into a bucket?
So that was a very good conversation that we had when we were going through the recruiting process. And I could understand why Spotify was looking at these three pieces as part of an alignment on how we communicate our brand, how we connect with our listeners and creators, how we talk about sustainability as being a company that cares about the planet and climate and also cares about their own people. And that's where I see the diversity and inclusion piece.
We can't leave diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
Don't leave it out.
No, so diversity, inclusion, and belonging at Spotify. What is it?
Sure. I lead diversity, inclusion, belonging, part of the Equity and Impact organization. Diversity and inclusion, belonging encompasses a couple different functions. So we look over what you think of more traditional diversity and inclusion efforts. So thinking about representation in our hiring efforts, thinking about what does our leadership look like when it comes to representation. Also, we're looking at internally, what is the type of culture that we can foster here at Spotify? So thinking about our people, do they feel welcome? Do they feel invited? Do they feel included in meetings, projects, different things like that? But more than anything, that belonging piece, we added that back into the mix where folks feel that they can be themselves and not think about every part of who they are, right? They can just be their authentic self and do amazing work and can grow here at Spotify. So diversity, inclusion, belonging has a couple different functions inclusive of mental health. It also includes our inclusive hiring, our early career pipeline efforts. So from students to 2 years out of university or just starting out their career, whatever that looks like, right? And also looking at a lot of our efforts in the next gen, right? Thinking about the partnerships, thinking about the organizations or institutions that we can work with that will help move our content organization forward. So not a lot of hodgepodge of things bundled into the things that we have at Spotify. Digital storytelling is also kind of the connective tissue that makes it all make sense and we can tell a story behind the work that we do.
Amazing, yeah.
No, what I was going to say, what is interesting about the work that we do is we're really very connected to other parts of the human resources organization.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work with the greenhouse and we do a lot of work with talent acquisition. So we're not just running something that stays on the sites. We really embed our work in the other groups and we collaborate and do things together. So the experience of the candidates or the experience of the employees when they come here, they feel that they can contribute and they can, be successful and thrive.
So could you speak to me a bit about where this sits, all this work, where does it sit in the people strategy?
It is actually, diversity, inclusion, belonging. I'll speak to that. It's actually part of the people strategy wheel, as we call it, as Katarina has talked to you about before. So diversity, inclusion, belonging is a key component of that. So what I love about Spotify is how it has the connective tissue. I keep using that word. I love that word. So if you hear me use it, just lean into it. It's embedded, like Elizabeth mentioned, into everything we do. It's embedded and woven into the fabric of who we are, how we show up. And what the beauty behind Equity and Impact is we have now, I call them now my sisters, to make sure that this work, we're we're focused on the people, but also their behaviors and the decisions that they make so that we can carry out this message externally. So from a people strategy standpoint, diversity, inclusion, belonging is woven into everything that we do. So it's not a standalone function, right? It's a group of individuals that are making sure that it's embedded into every mindset, every inclusion aspect of the process.
Okay.
And I would say that for 2022, when we look at how these groups support the people strategies, really about how we win the war for talent, how we build communities, and how we engage our employees. I mean, as we move into more distributed first, we need to come with solutions on how people feel that they belong. And we're working together with other groups in people unit to do so.
Right. And it isn't an easy feat, right? And a lot of people talk about obviously the challenges and all the work that they do. I think it's quite easy. You can go into any website about any company and you can see what their strategy within this space is. But could you talk a bit to us about what you actually do when you break it down a bit? The day-to-days, and how do you move the matrices, and how do you improve on a more of a maybe not on a daily but more on a quarterly and also yearly basis within this space?
I say this a lot. Relationships matter. And this is something that really means a lot to me. The relationships that we have with our, we call our band members, as y'all are so well aware of. I believe the relationships are probably the most important thing about the work that we do. Listen, not every person can do, diversity and inclusion belonging just because you come from, underrepresented community group, or you're part of a historically excluded group, doesn't mean that, this discipline or this field of work is the right fix. It's hard work. And, Jason Maiden, who's, everyone knows I love Jason Maiden. He says it's hard work, but it's also hard work. And what I love about that is because you're trying to prick the hearts of people to act and to think and to be able to reimagine how they show up and show out in the world, internally and externally. So I do believe relationships matter. And for me, the day-to-day on our team side is working alongside our HR business partners, working alongside our talent acquisition team, Katarina as well, to think about situations, issues, opportunities, ways of working and thinking about the future of work. Really, it's not even the future, it's now, right? So how do we show up and be there for our employees, help them and guide them through, over the last 18 months, but also what's to happen in the future? How can we establish community and connection in a distributed first workplace where belonging is still part of, the experience, and people still feel that they can be connected no matter where they are in the world? So for me, it's about the relationships. It's constant conversations. It's conversations with HR, but also the business leaders about decisions, how they can be strategic. We are strategy partners with our business, and we're not just here for compliance, or we're not here for situations that are traditional HR. I'll just say it. We really, and what I love about Spotify is that we truly are strategic partners to our business, to our leaders, to our executives. And I think that's what makes us different, is that they see us as valued thought partners and leaders, but all in business decisions. So you will find me all up in your business, right? Mm-hmm. And that is something that I love, because I want to work alongside of you. And that's what our team is here for, to have inclusive decision-making processes or mindsets. So I think that's what I would boil it down to.
Yeah, and the way that we're looking at our work, and we love that the word impact is part of our titles, because we're texting and testing ourselves is to see, are we really creating impact in the communities that we want, that we live, we work, and we play? Are we also having an impact with the leadership of our organization? Are we having an impact with the experience of our employees? And are we having an impact on the planet? Mm-hmm. So we're using that lenses of the impact, and then defining and reprioritizing the work that we do based on that. And there will be some times, and at the very beginning, it was really about the hiring. As we continue to look at our data, is it hiring? Is it promotion? Is it retention? So we continue to see where the strategies and the initiatives that we have the most impact on the experience, as I said, both of our candidates, both of our employees, but also the communities around us.
Fantastic.
And I would say the data is the one part, like the quantifying that, right? I think, well, we already heard from Gary, who talks about a lot of the HR insights, and when Elizabeth joined, that is the one thing that, from a leadership standpoint, I can attest to. Like, it's been super valuable. Is we have the relationships, we have these commitments, we want to see change, we want to see, action happen, but we also need to quantify that as well, to be able to identify the change, but also be able to pivot, right? The power of the pivot. It's so important. So if an experience is going a different way, it's important for us to just be at the pulse of impact and be able to quantify that.
So earlier this year, we launched something called Work from Anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So how do you foresee, and what have you seen so far when it comes into this space? Pros, cons, any worries, concerns, or no? There are a couple of things that we think we could benefit also within the space of diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
So I would say that it's all positive. I mean, first of all, we and you were before everybody else was out there thinking about how we're going to change the way that we work. You were already preparing and having conversations. So that's what I think, and I was not here, but that's what I think that Spotify was so successful in moving remotely when the conditions of the pandemic started. So that's one thing. I think that it opens opportunities for people that may not want to live in New York or may not want to be in Stockholm, but they are really engaged with our purpose, and they can do that. I would say that the biggest challenge that we continue to have, and a lot of companies will have, is how do you continue to engage in a less traditional way? Before, we got the experience of being here in Los Angeles in this beautiful campus, and there's something about being in a space that connects you with others and that gives you energy and engages. So now we have to replicate or find ways to do it. So all of our employees can have the experience of what it is to be with others, but also be able to work by themselves or in the conditions that we can create, so they can produce and be and keep that purpose-driven feeling of being part of Spotify.
Yeah. Only thing I would add, or two things I would add, would be, like Elizabeth was mentioning, it puts the choice in the employee's hands, right? You know best your situation, right? Whatever your lived experiences and how you can manage and juggle all of the, we were talking about that earlier, Katarina, like, it's just life. Like, it's life, right? It's no longer this 9-to-5 type of mindset. It's really thinking about how you can provide the power of choice to your employees and let them decide how they would like to figure out their ways of working, right? And provide that type of scaffolding, as Elizabeth loves that word, and I love it too. How do you provide that scaffolding around to facilitate for them to be able to do that? So I love it because, not only does it help us to diversify our workforce, I think that's one of the powerful moments in when Anna Lundstrom and Alex Westedal were two key individuals that helped create the Work From Anywhere program. It was super powerful to be able to democratize doing awesome work, working for an awesome brand, right? So it doesn't matter if you're in Detroit, Michigan or Helsinki, you can still work at Spotify and have an amazing experience to grow and to develop and be a part of something super amazing and powerful. The second part is, I do think we have to keep our eye on community and belonging. And to that point, like Elizabeth was making earlier, how do you still facilitate connection in a very distributed workplace where some of the secret sauce of Spotify is the people, the experience, the human connection? So it's something that, I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but we're working towards, we have ideas. We're going to be trying out different ways, different things. A lot of the teams in the people organization under Katarina, we're thinking about, how can we develop community and build community if you're, at home or in the office, right? So that's the one thing I do think that I know for us at Spotify, we're laser focused in thinking about in 2022, and I'm sure other organizations are as well. You have to be able to be flexible and adaptable in this new way of working, because if not, you won't be competitive, right? You won't attract the right talent for your organization. And even from a client standpoint, you have to think about your business and how you generate revenue. It all boils back to that as well. So I think that's just something that we just have to stay close to, and making sure that, it doesn't sort of go into a place where there's a separation, right, between the folks that work at home versus the folks that still go into the office and get to experience these things. There has to be a blend and a balance for both. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
We still believe in the human connections, and
Yeah,
you and I
for
have
sure.
talked a lot about. So being a distributed workforce doesn't mean that you don't connect with people, or
Yeah.
that you don't come to a meeting together. So I get asked this a lot because of our sustainability strategy. Are we going to stop traveling? Are we going to stop meeting? And that's not going to be the case. We're going to find the ways, but we're going to find ways that is really productive. And when you meet, you really get to do things, but you also get to be together with people and learn about each other, because we believe that both creators, listeners, they still want that connection.
Yeah. Wrapping up, there's one thing that I would like to touch on that also has to do with, and I think people would also beat me up because I'm asking you questions, right? So I need to ask you this question. Are you not slightly scared that setting boundaries or mental health, you oversee that part of the house too, right, within your remit? When people work at home, how do we make sure that they are healthy and they are doing well when we don't see them on a
Sure.
day-to-day? And also, how do you set boundaries, which maybe is one of the things that is quite hard when everything goes into your routines and when it's work and when it's your leisure time. So what is your reasoning and what are your thoughts and what any concerns there?
I think that's a lot has to do with how we manage people, how we connect with people, how we know. So I would say that as manager, we need to understand what are the conditions and how people work,
Right.
and how you have the conversations, how you make this the most productive. So, I was talking to one of our colleagues, and she said, at 5:00 I stop because I sit down and have dinner with my children. And that's perfect. And if we have an environment where people can say that and explain what are the spaces, so I will try to never call her at 5 if I can. But then I know that I will be receiving an answer at 7 because that's when she finished with the dinner with her kids and goes back. So I think that flexibility and knowing your people is important. And I know that we actually have even some training. So those managers that have never managed before or have never managed a team remotely can learn what are the tips and how they can do that. So I think that will be the other piece of we leaders need to keep an eye on a real open conversation and open dialogue with our employees, so we understand their conditions and we create an environment where they can share what is their situation. That's part of, then, you can talk more about the mental health initiatives, but that's what we have created,
Right.
an environment where people felt that they could share. I remember in one of the conversations, in one of the panels, one of our employees said, call their managers, I'm going to take a day off because I'm just feeling overwhelmed. And he said, and the reason why I could do that is because in this company, there's no stigma. The same way that if I have broken my leg, I will call my managers and I can't go to work. So that removal of the stigma that sometimes we need the time to do other things is an incredible work that a company has been doing for a long time.
Yeah. The only thing I would add would be Lynn Caldis, who heads up our Heart and Soul efforts, as we're going into our 4th year with Heart and Soul. One of the things I love, and Elizabeth mentioned this, it's equipping our people with knowledge, with ways, just thinking about how to manage and how to manage your team, but also connect with your team, foster all things from, healthy boundaries. We have a workshop on how to set healthy boundaries as a team, right? We have those conversations. We have difficult conversations about, where you are with mental health. I just think it's so important for us, not only as leaders and individuals that live in this space. It's so important for us to make sure that we cascade that comfort, to remove that stigma, that there's no shame or guilt behind it. The more and more we see that, the more and more we can have healthy conversations about, hey, I need to take a break, right? Like, I have a lot going on. I just need a mental health day. I do that as my team. Last year, end of last year, beginning of January, that was something that was important to me based off of just, it was a time of the month for that a lot of relatives or individuals in my family, my dad passed away, and it was the time where, January was the time we were experiencing that again. And I just needed to take a mental health day because I just needed space to just reflect and process. And that's okay. Right? You know what I mean? And so equipping people to reduce that stigma and to remove that stigma, but also to equip our managers with having those conversations and to foster psychological safety as much as possible, create brave spaces for people to have the dialogue. And I will say this, I will end with this. I talk a lot. I know. Katarina's giving me, she's like, all right, Travis, come on.
I do not.
Your
I'm just
eyes.
kidding.
We know your eyes.
The eyes.
Get to the point, man.
Yeah, I know.
Get to the
I
point.
like to build a story behind it. Now I lost my thought.
I'm sorry, but you took yourself straight.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, I just think it's okay. It's okay to have these conversations and to create brave spaces for people to have the conversation, to be okay, and to see it being led by example. And that's one of the components of why I came back, was because I knew I could be my whole self at work, right? The good, the bad, the pretentious, or whatever you want to call it. And that's just
in my
powerful.
age, we call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. But
Yeah, I changed that
Wait,
word.
we're not going to call him
You know,
ugly.
yeah, I'm not
Well,
ugly.
he
so-
isn't.
Yeah. So I just think it's important for organizations to foster that type of environment where we can have open discussions, we can be honest with each other, but we can also, know that there's space for you to learn to grow your skill set. And it's okay if you don't know how to do this. There's ways, and our team is, and Lynn and her efforts with our ambassadors across the globe are developing resources for managers to be able to have these conversations, for employees to know, like, it's okay to take a break. And, I think I've only heard amazing things about Wellness Week, Spotify Wellness Week that we're coming off of. So
That's a big signal
Yeah.
that this organization cares about their people. And the people will give that discriminatory effort because they really want to do more for the companies that care about them. So it was an incredible signal.
I think so. And with that, I think that has to be our ending. I did my best to channel my inner Anne-Marie, but I know that she wants to have a new chance to talk to you, both of you, when you are in Stockholm, when
Yes.
the world looks a bit different and you can fly over it. So thank you for taking the time out today and speak a bit about equity and impact at Spotify. Thank
And
you.
how do you
Great.
always finish
I know.
this
I was going to
podcast?
say the
I said,
same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
but-
So do you know?
yes, we do.
Okay,
Let's do it
so-
together. The three of us.
No, the two of you.
1, 2, 3.
Stay strong, stay safe,
stay
active.
Idemodalia.
Oh, wait. No, I
Stay-
don't. Stay safe, stay strong.
Stay active. I de medalje.
Idemodalia.
Idemodalia.
Okay. So
We're going to try.
do it
That's
together.
my best Swedish.
Okay. So stay strong,
Stay strong,
stay safe,
Stay
stay
safe.
safe,
stay active,
stay active.
and then i de medalje.
Idemodalia.
Idemodalia.
That was not 17 minutes. That was like 252.